Awesome. You're a massive nerd. Computer
It's nice.
Shut up, arsehole. But it isn't an SSD, lol. Insane. Brilliant. But insane. Guilty as charged. Ladies and gentlemen, but mostly gentlemen, this is the largest redstone device ever built. So, you're probably wondering what it is. Well, it is a much larger version of what I had previously shown you. Obviously, it does now have a read system. This is my personal design, and I'll go over that in a second. It is currently 1024 blocks that way and 1024 blocks that way. It's very, very big and functional to some extent. In fact, it was actually going to be extended all the way down there. It doesn't actually cause a great deal of lag on my game. My FPS is not exactly nice right now, but that's because I'm running fraps at the same time, and surprisingly I can actually read and write from this drive without the game crashing. That's how efficient I have made this drive. So the only problem is that I have actually maxed out the redstone capabilities of Minecraft. There are literally millions of command blocks. So as you can imagine, the game does struggle a bit, and if you try to read from this drive or write to it, it can have a bit of a glitchy time of it. But I have actually put a command block at the end of the drive, and I can read from it without the game crashing while running with fraps, and it will actually tell me that it's worked. So without further ado, let's press that button, and I've dropped to 16. Yes, I've actually only dropped a couple of frames per second, and any second now, there we go. Yeah, that's how long it took for that speed of redstone to get to the other side of the drive. So as you can imagine, it is rather big. The only thing is that making it that big was going to take too long. Quite frankly, I couldn't be bothered, because even saving one of these layers of drives was going to take, wait for it, several days. Yes, several days to save one layer. So I could not be asked to make one that was 32 layers big. But if it was 32 layers high, then it would store 1 megabyte of data in Minecraft. Ladies and gentlemen, 1 megabyte of functional data in Minecraft. Thank you. Oh, you're too kind. Yes, you're too kind. Yeah, if only I could be bothered, that's how much data it would store. But right now, it's not actually reasonable to even try and use this. So I thought there was no point, because it's not exactly functional. Sad face, yes, I know. So anyway, let's move on, and you can find out how this actually works. And hello, my name's Ags Steve, and I'm pretty happy with the design. So first of all, I just want to give a proper thank you to Codecrafted for attracting so many people's attention to this design. As you can see, the first video now has well over 6,000 views, which is quite nice. And just before we get started, I'd like to point out that there are 3 designs right in front of me. There's this little 256-bit design, there's the 1 kilobit design that I showed you before, and over there is the 4 kilobit design that I've just put together just before starting the video. You can download any of these from the description below, just for different purposes, like perhaps on a server you've got some VIP members and they all want their own little hard drive. You could probably give them this design, and it really doesn't lag the game whatsoever. When using this, I don't lose any FPS, maybe 1 or 2, but it's so efficient, it's unbelievable. And that 4 kilobit design, maybe if you've got a big design and you want to just use one of them all for yourself, that's probably pretty good for that. So this is my slightly solid state drive. Some have called it, well, one has called it a semi solid state drive, which is probably quite appropriate because yes, it does use pistons, but I mean, I could replace the pistons with tiny little redstone toggle circuits, and then it would be fully SSD. But the redstone toggle circuits would take up more space, they would cause more lag, and a piston is effectively a toggle system if you think about it. It's just that the toggle, whether it's on or off depending on the redstone, that toggle is built into the code of the game, so I don't need to build it into the hardware. So you see, sometimes it just pays to look at how the code's crafted. Oh yeah! So what improvements have I made to the design since the first video? Well, first of all, don't quote me on this, but I think these figures are probably correct. The first design took 5 ticks to travel 4 blocks, but as you can see, I've replaced all of the repeaters with comparators, because even in this configuration they don't lose any charge, so they're perfectly applicable for this purpose, but they're faster than repeaters. So I have simply turned this from 5 ticks per 4 blocks into 4 ticks per 4 blocks. Even if these figures aren't correct, it's definitely faster than the first design. So as you can see up here, there is now a read system. Woo! So this is my personal design. It's the most compact of all the submissions that I've had so far, as I would expect from myself. I've had some submissions over there. I don't know if you know this, but I asked my subscribers to come up with designs because this channel is pretty much all redstone, and I figure if all of these people are here for redstone, they probably know a thing or two about redstone. So that's kind of nice. I plan to do that in the future. I like seeing what you guys come up with as well. Plus it saves me a lot of time, so I can just sit on my lazy arse and get all these submissions in. No, I'm going to edit that bit out. So when I say it's the most compact, I do mean that it's 8 blocks vertically, including the write system and the new read system, each of which are currently 3 blocks in their current state. But of course, if you wrote a bit of data to the write system, then the pistons would go down, and that takes up another block down there. And up here, the way this operates is that when there's a bit in that position, in fact I could just show you this now because I have set up these correctly, you can read the data and it will put a redstone block in that position. So if we just go ahead and put something there so that it can actually have something to read, so this is how it would function. You put your command block in the place that you want it to function. When you've got a bit of data in that position, it will activate a command block, meaning you can send your redstone signal instantly anywhere rather than it coming out of the side, and you can perform any function that a command block could possibly do. So if I now read this, because there's still a bit down there, it will activate that command block, and as you can see in the bottom left, OMFG, it works, because it does. It's pretty beautiful, and nicely it stacks directly on top of each other. So even with the program of 1 block, the read system of 3 blocks, the write system of 3 blocks, and then the extra bit when one of these pistons is down, they stack directly on top of each other and they won't interfere. So that's nice. I also have this read interface, which is this line at the start that I used. This thing here is a kind of neat little thing which I figured out myself. You'll see that that redstone doesn't even turn on, and that's because there's a redstone tick going out at the speed of a tick, which is faster than a redstone tick is allowed to be. It's a little bit game breaky. I have kind of tricked the game into doing what it's not allowed to do, but this sets a piece of redstone wire there, and obviously because I've pressed this button, the redstone tick, the redstone wire gets turned on, and this puts air in the same position. So basically it will put redstone wire there, it will activate the redstone wire, but then 1 tick later it will remove the redstone wire, and a tick is faster than a redstone tick, and basically this happens. There was redstone there, but it was too fast to render. That's not the important bit though. The interface is, and what it actually does is reads this line of pistons under there from, you have to type this command in, so I'd suggest you get a txt document or or Microsoft Word or something like that, so that you can type this command in, because it's the exact same command for all of these command blocks down there, but it will be a different command because it will be different coordinates depending on where you put the hard drive. So just type out the command, and I might as well just show you how to do that now. First of all, go into F3. Now what you'll need to do is compare all of these blocks here, which are either air or pistons, with all of these blocks here, which are either air or pistons. So you take that, and that's going to be 136, 10 minus 2075, so the block underneath would be 136, 9 minus 2075, and that is what you put in there. And then you go along to the other side, and here's your last piston, which is 136, 10 minus 2045. So the block underneath is 136, 9 minus 2045, and those are the two coordinates that you put in the command block at the start, and then after that you put relative 1, relative minus 3, relative 3, and that is your command set. So just copy and paste that into all of those command blocks down there, and the interface will function, and it will check to see if there are any bits in that sector of the drive. So what it basically does is massively improves the efficiency of the hard drive, because if there aren't any bits of data written in that sector, it won't even bother checking that sector for which bits are down. If there are bits that are down, it will then put redstone wire there so that the signal gets sent through, and the rest of the hardware will do all the hard work. But that is very useful and makes the whole thing much more efficient and much less laggy. It's actually something similar to the trim command you'll find in real life SSDs that allows an operating system to inform an SSD which blocks of data are no longer considered active. So penultimately, it suffered from the same limitation as a real SSD, in that to read the same bit twice in a row, it had to remove the bit and then write it again and then read it. And what I mean by that is that well, that bit is still down, so if I were to now read this drive, you'll see the redstone block pop up there. Previously, it would place the redstone block and it would stay there, and yeah, that's possibly not the best idea, because you want to be able to read it again and for it to activate the same command block twice in a row. Basically, it now automatically does what a real SSD has to do, and down here has the most compact chunk loader conceivable, because it is just a single hopper. Now at first I was planning to have it was going to have a redstone remote controlled chunk loader, so that it would and I had this thing designed, but it turned out to not function as well as it should have, for a reason I'll explain in a second. What it would have done is, as it goes down, it sends a signal into the chunk loader to load the next chunk, so that it would dynamically load every chunk that your hard drive needs to function just before the redstone signal gets there, and 20 or 30 seconds after it was finished, those chunks would unload themselves again. So again, that would be extremely efficient. Unfortunately, you would have to manually type in the coordinates for every single chunk loader. And when it's a little hard drive like this, maybe that's feasible, but for the big one that I showed you previously, even though I'm recording this bit first, for the big one, that's not a reasonable thing to do. Even on that 4 kilobit one, that's just going to take too long. Nobody got time for that, basically. But yeah, those are all the improvements that have been made to the hard drive, which you can now download in all of these sizes, and some extra little bits so that you can construct larger hard drives yourself from the description below. Oh, and to the guy who challenged me to make a terabyte of data, no!